Welcome back to Powerhouse. Today I'm sitting down with Patty Arvielo, CEO and co-founder of New American Funding. Patty's impact isn't measured by headlines. It's measured by the people she's helped move closer to homeownership, especially in communities the industry has too often overlooked. If you're a loan officer, team leader, or executive trying to build something that lasts, you're going to get a lot out of this one. I don't remember where it might have been. I can't remember if it was a podcast or an interview, or if I read it on LinkedIn. And correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a minute. But it was something along the lines about your leadership, and something along the lines of that you feel it's your job to learn to lead people individually rather than them adopt your leadership as almost as a mandate, let's say. Yeah. And that's a really demanding standard to put upon yourself. Necessary, I would assume, but it's also demanding. So how do you execute that at scale? And maybe that was that's in part your answer. Your previous answer was, you can call me anytime. Access to you, I would assume. But what else?
I think it's just taking the perceptions of what it feels like to be where or sit where I sit. I'm really humanizing leadership. Because I think the connection to people post-COVID has been so important. I used to be embarrassed years ago when I would talk about NAF 360 in our culture. Now everybody talks about a proposed culture that they have, but we bleed it. Rick and I trained on it. Rick and I flew to a company, Zappos, the shoe distributor in Nevada, and we took 2-day training with that founder, Anthony, prior to him passing away. Because we knew that company had an extraordinary culture. We were willing to be open to learn that we don't know everything. I think that some people are born leaders. I think I was bossy since a very young age, so quote unquote, maybe leaderish. But it is a skill that you learn. And what I figured out is nobody wants to be led one certain way. We all have different personalities. We all have different beliefs. We all have different cultural upbringings. I try to meet people where they are and try to be open to how they want to be led. I don't know if we have 600 team members in India. You think I'm talking to them the same way I'm talking to the person here in Cali? No, I'm not. They have a different lived experience. Their life is different. It looks different. So I try to meet people where they are. I am strong. I let people know that. And I am a fighter, and I will not succumb to really anything. Because I think the true testament to leadership is making people understand that no matter how bad it gets, the market's really bad, that we're here to succeed and we will win. And Rick and I have very much that attitude together, and we speak that way. We never come down on our team members. We never blame. We never deflect. We take all blame for anything that goes wrong at NAP. It's mine and Rick's fault. So I think that's just a lot of humanizing going on at NAF. There's no shiny object of being the leader. There isn't, because it's hard too.
Right. Well, but your leadership, it goes beyond NAF though, right? That's what I wanted to ask you about. You lobby in Washington, you speak with regulators, and I guess when you're in those rooms, what's the thing that you're pushing hardest for on behalf of the borrowers that don't have a seat at the table in those underserved communities? Going back to our earlier conversation,
just awareness. I honestly have sat at the table with the CFPB. I sat with the Secretary of HUD.
Let me ask you this: how in tune are they with the realities of our world?
When I sat on the advisory board of the CFPB, they didn't know the difference between a broker and a banker.
That's funny and horrifying at the same time.
So there's a lot of learning. I advocate for every regulator and any institution overseeing what we do to have someone like us at the table. IMB founders, leaders at the table. Oftentimes, when I showed up to the CFPB board, I was the only mortgage person at the table. Yet they were, when they came out, it was the hammer to go after these bad actors in the mortgage business, but they only had me at the table. So I advocate for having leaders of the industries in which you're overseeing and regulating at the table. A lot of us will volunteer our time, I promise you.
Yeah, I'm going to Washington D.C. the 14th and 15th with First Home IQ and the NBA National Advocacy Conference to go to the Hill and
Yeah.
talk to our lawmakers about it's to raise awareness, right? Educate them. First Home IQ's thing is first home, or millennial and Gen Z home ownership, and that the lack thereof, rather. But they're gathering. I don't know. There's 50, 60 loan officers that are going, which I believe I was talking to Dave Savage about this. The most that they've ever before was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Great. I think I see a lot of positive movement. I guess maybe not change yet, but movement, advocating for change, and like I said, awareness. They don't know this world. They don't know this space, which is wild because of how central to the American experience homeownership is. Being an American is
Yes.
deeply rooted in owning a home and building not just the safety and the security, but building equity up through the home. That's everything to us in this country. So the fact that they're so far removed is insane.
Homeownership. Still, the number one tool to building wealth in America is homeownership.
Sure. Okay, so let me ask you this: we've this audience is kind of diverse. We've got home builders that listen to this. We've got LOs and a few agents and appraisers. So, but any originators, team leaders in the audience, you've built something that's lasted through many cycles by putting people first, right? So, what's the version of that lesson that applies to someone running? They're running a branch, or they're running a small team today.
I think when someone chooses to choose you, meaning that there's a loan officer and they're going to choose a branch manager, they're looking at you as a mentor or someone that can take them to the next level. There has to be time spent in nurturing that relationship. When I see leaders in the industry have huge teams, I mean, we've onboarded teams of 100 people. I mean, they're like companies within themselves, right? In leadership growth, you only get what you give. This is not a take industry. Loan officers will see right through leadership that's just basically just into themselves. The true great regional leaders, branch manager leaders are the ones that take the time to put in to the people who choose to follow them. And that really is what it is. I mean, it's kind of an honor if you're a branch manager and you're recruiting and a loan officer chooses you, and a lot of times, there's all through the industry, we have originators that claim the branch manager title, but they're just really big originators. So when you're out looking for leaders, just really make sure that you're getting that leader that's actually going to take the time to spend with you to nurture the fact that maybe you're starting out or you want to take it to the next level. What's that look like? I mentor women, primarily women. I have mentored men throughout my Thrive and Lead mentorship program for the last 5 years. I've mentored now well over 500 people in the industry. I do not recruit. I don't talk about NAF. It's not about that. It's accessibility to somebody who's kind of been through different things. Well, loan officers are looking for the same thing. True regional leaders have a following I can't tell you. We have some of the best regional leaders and in the industry, and they have huge followings. But when I watch them and I watch them give back to the people, they're not just a name on a card or a name on a website that you claim as a boss. They're actually putting back and helping you build, helping you lead, helping you deal with daily problems.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned mentorship because this had totally slipped my mind. It was one of the things that I specifically wanted to talk to you about. You're going to be on stage at the gathering in Austin, Texas, April 28th to the 30th. You're going to be speaking or kind of co-hosting a conversation between you and Latasha Waddy. So can you, I don't want to give away the farm, but can you kind of preview a little bit of what the attendees might be in store for?
You got two powerhouse mortgage women on stage. I'm very proud of Latasha. I met Latasha. She joined my mentorship program 2 years ago. And we spent a year together and, we have several phone calls throughout the year. And when I started the mentorship program, I put it out to the universe. It was like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Are you going to charge? No, I'm not going to charge. Just put my name out there because it's super lonely, especially being a woman in the mortgage industry wanting to grow. What's that look like? What did you deal with? I said, because I don't want to retire from the mortgage industry being one of the few female founders or female executives at the table in the top mortgage companies of America. That was the true reason why I started Thrive and Leave. So to have Latasha be a prior mentee and now the president of a top tier IMB, that means that like that, you can call it dreaming, manifestation, whatever you are, me putting it out in the universe that things that you drive for or goals that you have do happen. And I couldn't be more proud of her. And I tell my mentees this when I'm mentoring them on screen. I will say that you show up thinking I'm doing for you, but actually what you all do for me is so much more fulfilling. You are building my legacy. They're making me feel like, that I matter. And that really is significantly human, right? I want to know that I matter to people. It doesn't matter if you have an extra dollar in your bank account when at the end of the day, no one talks about that. They talk about how you impacted others in your journey. And I feel like Latasha is one of my first wins. I've had many others, that have reached out because they consistently will share their journeys with me post our year together. So I'm proud of that. I don't feel like I had a role in it. I feel like I gave her a vision of what that role was going to look like for her. Her story in itself is now being told and is super important to the industry for the women that are rising because this industry has a large percent. I mean, we're 43% of the mortgage industry is women. Right? But yet we're mostly in the operational role or in maybe an originator role. But I'm seeing the trajectory of successful women loan originators rise. I mean, when you go to NAF's President's Council, it's almost 50-50 women to male. That matters.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, let me ask you this. I'm listening to you speak about this. You've said it multiple, like you've been in the industry for a very long time, and the energy or the enthusiasm that you have now mirrors people that I know that they're on their way up. They're passionate and they're pouring everything into their branch, into their company, and you still have, to me at least, you still have that same enthusiasm and same energy. So what is it that keeps you? I would assume this mentorship and legacy building, is that what's, part of what continues to, keep you up or get you up every morning and ready to attack the day?
I think everybody would say this. Mortgage is not boring. I mean, the shifts we endure, even just like, look at what we've been dealing with the war, with Iran, what it did to the secondary market. I mean, literally it's exhilarating, exciting, challenging. I mean, even if you're a loan processor and every time you get to look on the screen, you get to go to the appraisal, look at the photos of somebody's dream. I mean, like everything about it's so exciting. But after 40
whenever I was, when I originated, I got into the career as an originator, and the guy that trained me and brought me in, he's, like every like you're talking about, from an origination standpoint at the ground level, he's like, if he spread his hands out real big. He's like, if you want to learn, you have to know this much to be able to do that much, right? Like every loan basically is its own problem. It is from the outside, it could look like a boring world, but it's really not.
No, it's so exciting. Just the shifts in the market, the opportunity, just the role to disrupt. I mean, how many times people will spread rumors that we sold, NAF's for sale, the very old rumor of that. If you ask Rick, he's like, I retired once. If you knew Rick's story, Rick had a company and he sold it in his mid-30s. He said it was the most miserable 2 years of his life. He likes waking up to disrupt what still is a very archaic business. I mean, we're still kind of doing the same thing. Over the last 40 years, I still look at credit the same way, right? We're working in an industry that's ripe for disruption, not disruption in a bad way, but a lot of innovation. And Rick is an innovative person. So it still gets me really excited to listen to my husband transform this industry. For me, love people. Right? So I get to be around a lot of people all the time. I'm still very heavily involved in recruiting. So yeah, the passion to continually do what I do. I'm going to be hosting a 3-day event within the Avance NAREP umbrella. So NAREP has their big events, NAREP at Avance. So I'm going to be hosting Thrive and Lead for 3 days to really bring Thrive and Lead to the next level. Thanks to Gary.
When's that coming up?
September. It's September, I think, 14th, 15th. I don't have my paper calendar with me. It's during the NAREP event. So anybody attends NAREP, they will have access to a 3 days of my content, all directed towards women empowerment, female founders, female loan originators. It just comes all different aspects of women leadership. I mean, I've been giving this.
Is there a link for that? We can put that.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be coming up on the NAF. NAF LinkedIn. It'll be up on the NAREP site and the Avance site in the next few days. So, I mean, this is the first time I'm taking this to industry rather than just 50 people. So I mean, how fun is that? I still get to innovate.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm still doing things that excite me. And I still think there's a lot of room for people to realize that the barrier to entry, I think it's non-existent, really. You have to choose you, and you have to just find people you resonate with that have done it and just carve the path forward.
Okay. Well, first we'll get that as soon as that link goes live to learn more or to sign up. We'll put that in the show notes, and I'll include that whenever we post this on.
I'll send you the link when it comes live to Thrive and Lead in Avance. So yeah, I know there's a ton of your listeners that go to NAREP.
Sure.
Yeah, Gary's had one of the biggest real estate events for years now, and so this will be pretty exciting to have a 3-day event. Really, just putting out the information that I do, but to the masses. It's really fun.
Well, let me leave you with one last question. You were talking about innovation in the industry, and I agree. I mean, I've only been in the industry 15 years, but I've been long enough to see the promise of innovation or the teasing out of innovation.
Right.
And beyond taking tech out, taking AI out, because that's the easy answer. What area or what part of the industry do you see ripe for innovation that that's really either being overlooked or that you don't think people really aren't even paying attention to?
Well, a lot of it's been talked about, the credit scoring issue. I think is high and still it's taken so long. I remember being with Barrett Burns, the founder of VantageScore, 15 years ago, lobbying for VantageScore to be, prolific. And now we're finally there. Why does it take 15 years? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I actually think we're right there. We're right there in automation. I think that the data pooling of AI will continue to evolve the automation of data. Data tells all stories, whether you're creditworthy or not. It's very difficult to fraud data, right? So the more access we have to data to drive creditworthiness, the better it will be for access.
Okay, well, very good. Patty, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. It was great getting to know you a little bit. And again, just thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.